Welcome to Wednesday's midweek analysis. We've got some interesting price action, some charts developing on our shortlist here to the right. Let's have a look at what's going on as we look to the rest of this week, heading into the last week of November. Got Wednesday and Thursday left. Let's take a look at the news as always, begin with that. What's on the calendar? We can see here we have got the Aussie news that has happened, and the major one for this week, the New Zealand rate announcement. Going to take a look at the New Zealand pairs that we have on the list. Later, what have we had? We've also had a bit of euros, some minor dollar news and pound news, a speech from the Bank of England. So let's bear in mind the pound. Let's also bear in mind for tomorrow oil news, and we've got some CAD GDP and some other minor dollar news, and euro again, speech there on Thursday. So for now, the point of focus is on New Zealand, on pound as well, and yeah, we'll take a look at perhaps dollar and any CAD pairs. We've got that on our list. So really bearing that in mind, we've got Wednesday and Thursday, typically the busier days, the days where we've got action in the middle of the week. Starting with the dollar, of course, as expected, we have come into our target points, heading lower. We have not had the dollar reversing, did not want to come to give us a better price. We've run through this low. Now let's see what happens, whether we get that reversal, this idea, and eventually that, or we continue lower. So far we've not got quite enough clarity. There's no reversal. This is today's candle, which has not yet finished printing, so we don't know where that's going to end up. So far it is bearish until we see otherwise, and this high, yesterday's high, needs to be broken to even look at or consider a possible high. We need to see a reversal, perhaps a engulfing candle. Right now, no clarity on the dollar. Let's move on to the pound dollar. This is one we have looked at, and of course in combination with the weakness on the dollar, looking at the buy scenario, and this is what we looked at. To go higher, we wanted to see moving higher, and the pound moved higher right at the beginning of the week. And now Wednesday we were looking at lower prices. It did not give that. The invalidation was below. Instead we ran higher, and we said if we get the break, then this would be the idea, which is now kind of what we're looking at over here, and the pullback and then getting a better price. So let's now remove that first target that we had. We now have this area here being the better price. The last low will be an invalidation. As always, just following along as we usually do, following the market along. We've got the next target up here, which if you look to the left would be the high. We've got that. Now we're going to allow this turnaround to happen, and then look to this area here for the next possible idea. Now what we want to look for, well, of course we want to look for it to come down to get a cheaper price, and then create some kind of turnaround, ideally kind of a W pattern or a price action, candles, very bullish price action, to continue to the upside. And we'll have our invalidation at the bottom here. Now of course if we run through it, we invalidate, the market will tell us nope, it wants to go lower, and that will be that. So far we have a very bullish pound dollar, and not quite any reversal just yet. We may need to, maybe helpful to wait for the pound to actually close, and let's see what price action this day gives, Wednesday, and then we can go from there. Tomorrow maybe even clearer, maybe cleaner, if we get that continuation, rather than trying to capture the low. If you prefer that, safer entry, maybe not the best price, but safer, let's say slightly safer, higher probable, more highly probable scenario. That's the pound dollar. Okay, let's move on to the pound yen. What do we have on pound yen? we broke through this level, looking to continue higher, and what we had was this bullishness right at the beginning of the week, and I was saying that this Asia was unusual Asia bounce, and that we may get a break and close below, which is what exactly has happened. We've closed yesterday, Tuesday, below that low, which now invalidates the whole trade, and now we've also invalidated by this low being broken. And yeah, there was no push again right here, so that was invalidation. And what do we look to next? Well, we're gonna have to leave this aside. We are now bouncing off this 188 whole number, and it's not quite clear where we're at. What we want to see is a move down to get a better price and then continue higher. So it looks like for now the market wants to move lower. What do we want to see? Well, now that we are moving lower, we can take a fib, and we can see that the actual 61.8 level is here. So anywhere below here is a possible idea for a turnaround. However, the real high probability scenario would be for it to actually come down, then reverse, and then create that pullback for that better price, which will then give us another level over here, something like this, just in the future. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that would be the idea to look at. That would be the high probability scenario, and the invalidation point would then be this low over here. Now, of course, this is not a prediction. This is just a kind of projection. If this happens, this is what we'll look at, because we have broken lows. One low broken here, second low broken here. Let's see whether we get that break here. No clear turnaround unless we have this trend being broken and this high being broken. Now, if the market decides to do that, then we will look for second possibility, which is a break, pulling back and continuing higher. Of course, the favored idea would be this low down here, because it's the much better price and high risk to reward. Okay, that's the scenario. For now, we are in this minor downtrend. As you can see, it's a kind of a channel developing here. If you want to look at it like that, doesn't really matter. But the bottom line is we really need to see a clear reversal, a clear movement, and yeah, and then we'll be able to get a clearer picture of whether the market actually wants to move higher. So far, we don't see that, and as you could tell, we are in this downtrend. All right, here we are on the higher time frame. It's a bit clearer to see, and that is the plan on the pound yen. We adjust Swiss yen, similar idea. We were looking at this zone to head higher. We did not have that. We had this minor little swing point that looked like a swing point. However, we did not push high, did not break the high, and this was not a reversal trigger. This was not a reversal price action. It was just a doji candle in the middle of these three candles. And then the market headed lower. We wanted to see this, and that did not happen. We invalidated with this low down here. And now that we have invalidated, we have to reassess the whole thing. Where to now? Well, I'm going to do the same thing as the pound yen, seeing that this is also a yen pair. I'm going to look at the break of the last high. If you want a trend line, you can do a trend line, whatever the case may be. So a break of this last high, coming down to get a better price, and then continuing higher. That would be the preferred scenario. We can now move our invalidation down to the last low here. Of course, if we break this, if we have this happen and break through the invalidation, then we're going to scrap this completely. But for now, this is the preferred outcome, to know that we are going to create a new low over here. If you look on the daily, let's see how this daily candle closes. If we get a strong close or not. Obviously we want to see a strong close if this is going to happen, if we're going to wait for that. But I mean, the market would tell us what it wants to do. We don't really need to predict or project, so to speak, but I'm outlining the scenario. Guys, if you like this video, click a like below. I know maybe we're going a bit quickly, but if you want to follow along, pause the video, mark it up on your charts, and you're going to get these videos regularly. And then follow along and we can look at these setups together. Okay, let's move quickly on to Euro Pound. Euro Pound did not respect our level that we looked at. We did not have this break of this high. We just ran lower and lower and lower. No clear price action to go bullish. We had this brief pin bar right here that you can see, but that did not create any reversal. It was really weak. We had this very, very bearish candles, very, very bearish price action, and we have now invalidated the idea. So the market has told us what it wants to do, not ready to go higher. Not yet, or maybe never, who knows. For now, we'll have to leave this, and there was a question mark whether we're going to go lower or higher. So far we've invalidated. If we push lower, then we look at this scenario, and right now we're not looking at anything. I'm going to leave it to the side. The real thinking whether we will go bullish, and the scenario will be this, the break of the last high, to go higher and break this whole downtrend. So this would be a possible idea. No idea if it happens. If we break lower, then we'll have to wait and see. And we get a clear close, break and a close below. But the favored scenario is this bullish idea. We'll wait and see. If so far we're gonna have to adjust. It's not quite clear yet, and looking at quickly on the daily, here's that swing point. We went lower, and now we are in a kind of no man's land situation because we don't know where we're really heading. If we have no bias, we don't know where we're heading, then we leave the chart alone. Okay, let's move on to Euro CAD now. Euro CAD was another bullish idea. We've marked out a zone. We have not reached that zone yet. We are just chopping, looking for that break to move higher. Did not have that. Here is the level that we're looking at. Not reached it yet. Nothing to do here. We're just chopping around. No clarity. So we just wait. I mean, this is the patience aspect, and we want to see a drop lower and then go higher. Now, the idea earlier in the week was a break of this high, which did not happen. So now the next clear break would be this high if the market moves higher instead. But of course, why is it chopping? Well, it makes sense. We are on the 1.5 whole number. And because of that, the market is hesitating. So what does that mean? Really want to see a lower price, a really much cheaper price before we consider the market breaking right through this kind of resistance point, if that's what you want to call it, this kind of brief ceiling, or it may reverse completely and invalidate the idea using this low. Okay. Once we get that, once again, we'll have a break. Another pullback, and then look to continue. So that will be the scenario. For now, I'm going to stay patient and wait for that. Aussie CAD, what do we have on Aussie CAD? Well, this was a little bit different because Aussie CAD wanted to run higher. We had the break here. We have really run around this level. We had this big bullish candle, which would have been a valid idea. We've now come back down to it. So if you were in this, it may be one to scrap because we are now back down into the level. We have not headed higher, we've not pushed higher. So this could be a kind of a break-even situation, and really needs reassessing, because why are we back down here? Why are we here? If we expected this area to be bounced off for the market to move away from, which it did, broke, created a broken this high, as you can see, and now we've come down below. Why have we come back down below? Well, that means we don't really know what is going on, and then we can leave this now alone. So let's get rid of all of this. This is now done. Let's now reassess. and look to see what's happening. We are looking bullish so far. However, just as with Euro CAD, because it's also a CAD pair, both CAD pairs, we want to wait and see if we get a better price, and the better price would still be down here. Yeah, it's not quite clear, it's not quite clean here. We are in this choppy market. Are we going to get a lower price and continue higher, or will we move higher now that we have come back down into the original entry point from the beginning of the week? In fact, it was yesterday. So yeah, right at the beginning of Tuesday. If we break through here, then we may go lower. Therefore, another one to wait and see what happens. Are we going to head higher, or are we going to reach lower first? At the moment, we don't know. It's unclear. This kind of market is choppy. If this low holds and we head higher, then we look at possibly higher prices. But this really has to hold, and it's a question whether this low will hold. So let's just put that down. Will it hold or break? Okay, so that's the Aussie CAD. Pound Swiss. Pound Swiss is another one that was bullish. We were looking at the break of this structural high. We have had that. We reach into the first target, so we can now remove that. And what we're looking for is this level. And let's go down into the lower time frame. And as you can see, we have had price moving off this level, coming back down. It's quite choppy, not quite clear to see. And now we are bearish with this candle, and there is not quite a reversal here. Let's just get rid of this because we've now headed higher. This was the idea. And yeah, it was very, very choppy, very difficult to see, and not quite a trade here either. So where to from here? Let's have a look at the daily. Now, now that we've broken higher, out of this, let's move the chart a little bit. We want to see a better price. Perhaps we will come back down into this level and then head higher. And right now there is no clear area. If anything, I would want to see a much better price. The cleanest area is in fact down here. And the low, this would be the next invalidation low. This obvious low here. So what we really want to see is, let's draw it out. The ideal scenario would be a move lower, a break higher, coming back to get a better price, and then continuing higher. So we will get this kind of scenario. Again, perhaps a level here. So once we get the bounce, break, pulling back, continuing, pulling back, and then continuing to higher prices. The alternative, of course, is we have this high being broken without heading lower. So let's just mark that. And then the alternative scenario will be, again, the bullishness break, pulling back to get a price and continuing to the upside. So the overall upside is up here. And you can see the first target, which is a high up here. Oops, let me just do that. So here's the initial one to the left, and here's the next one up here. So that's the idea on pound Swiss. Okay, it's a bit choppy, so not quite clear. And it may require a little bit more patience if you're not sure. Not the favored one, really. So Aussie New Zealand, finally, look at that. Well, we waited for the news. This is where patience comes in. This is where you really, really want to be patient. This is why we wait for the news and outline why the news is an important one to watch for and time with your trade. The New Zealand big news for the week that we mentioned. New Zealand, this is what's happened in the middle of Asia, middle of the night. Bang, shot right down into our level that we've been waiting for ages for, what seemed like ages, through all of this choppy price action and waiting for it to go lower. It did not break higher. So let's delete this idea. Oops, so there was that range. We came out of the range now. We've gone right into our preferred level, and now we are going to stay with this bias. So we are getting closer and closer. Where next? Well, I'd like to see a kind of the low hit again one more time. So if we get another low right here, this would be a very good idea. We have our invalidation point marked down here. And then the safer entry, so to speak, is if we get some kind of a break of the structure, and once again pulling back price. If you want to wait a bit longer, if you want to get another entry, would be up here in case this one is gone. So as you can see, anywhere down here, once we get price come back again, if it comes back again, or otherwise, this will be the alternative scenario. So good one. We have been waiting and waiting on this one, so let's see, perhaps it will prove worth the wait. All right, guys, this is the end of the update for the week. As you can see, there's unclarity on the dollar. And have a good trading week. Watch out for this news, of course, and we'll catch up again on Friday and review the week. All right, bye for now, guys, and I'll see you on the next video.